Hello and welcome. You're watching world's largest coverage of Russia-Ukraine war. I'm Rajesh Pawar and joining me in this broadcast are Maria Pisrenko and Sergei Mirankov. Over the next half an hour, we will bring you unparalleled stories from the ground in war zone. It's very close. It was just on top of us, everybody on the ground.
In the peaceful city Kyiv, which is now turned into a battleground by the Russian troops.
Amid the fierce battle of Kyiv, back to back, shelling now has started to rock the heart of the city.
Three war reporters, one unmissable broadcast.
This is a building behind me which has been bombed just a few minutes back.
The death, the destructions, and the end of everything that was normal. The terrible tragedy of Ukraine is visible.
Unparalleled stories of war from ground. Russia and Ukraine on the negotiation table. Peace breakthrough on the cards. Ukraine battered, bloodied, and bruised.
It's day 22 of Russia's offensive on Ukraine. 3 weeks on, the country has seen unprecedented death and destruction on its once bustling streets. Kharkiv has suffered the most in this war. It has been the worst hit city in Ukraine. And Russia continues its attack, targeting even civilians. In Mariupol, where a bomb shelter was attacked, Ukrainians have put up exceptional resistance to the Russians. Ukraine is showing unmatched fighting spirit.
Markets on fire. Schools shelled. Back-to-back strikes. Ukraine continues to face the unsparing onslaught by Putin's army. As Russia continues its invasion, there's bloodbath on the streets of Kyiv, Kharkiv, Mariupol, and many other cities and towns spread across Ukraine. The second biggest city of Kharkiv paints a picture of destruction. Airstrikes that rocked marketplaces left buildings on fire, smoldering and charred. The relentless attacks by Putin's forces didn't even spare schools. Plumes of smoke were seen emerging from a school that lies in ruins and totally devastated. Another badly hit city, Mariupol, has bodies lying on the streets. Target of multiple daily attacks, the city witnessed massive strike on a drama theatre where hundreds of civilians had taken shelter. The sprawling building was reduced to a pile of debris with hundreds trapped. As the Russian army advances towards the capital, attacks on Kyiv's suburbs continue. Residential buildings were seen on fire, with locals struggling to flee using destroyed bridges. Casualties continue to rise.
The Russian state has become an outspoken terrorist, and it is not ashamed. But it will be responsible for everything. The world is already beginning to understand that without the recognition of Russia as a terrorist state, it will be impossible to restore justice for Ukraine. It will be impossible to restore international order.
Today, another apartments building.
Boxing legend and Kyiv mayor Vitaly Klitschko didn't mince words, saying Russia is ruthlessly attacking civilians and not just military establishments.
Putin says he's only targeting military targets.
Bullshit. Sorry. Where is military target? This building is military target.
It's day 22 of the invasion, and Russia continues to attack cities, causing heavy damage. The city of Kharkiv continues to be worst hit. A market in Kharkiv was bombed, following which the fire raged on for hours, with smoke engulfing the nearby buildings as well.
Sviatslav Urash, who was earlier seen taking up a gun against Russian forces, suffered a massive personal tragedy as he lost his girlfriend Alexandra in a Russian attack.
She will remain that voice which will be speaking to the world every single day from now on.
This hospital in Mariupol is the last one standing in the ruined city, with all others bombed out. Bodies are piling up as those doctors couldn't save are lined up in the basement, since the mortuary in the city is full to the brink. The bodies include those of infants who are grievously hurt. But the Ukrainians refuse to give up, inflicting significant damage on Russian military, targeting Russian tanks firing at shelters across the city of Mariupol. Ukrainian army also shot down a Russian chopper, valiantly fighting back and against insurmountable odds. With Rajesh Pawar and Seri Mirankov in Kyiv, Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's now go to my colleague Maria Pisarenko, who has been tracking situation on ground.
Thank you, Rajesh. The Russian invasion has left the country already in ruins. Houses burned, commercial establishment destroyed. The horrifying visuals that have emerged show the significant damage to Ukrainian cities. Take a look at this report.
Captivating cathedrals, marvelous monasteries, historic monuments, and cities with grand landscapes. This was Ukraine for tourists holidaying in Europe's second largest country. Charred, engulfed in smoke, raging fire. Once brimming with life, markets, schools, and commercial establishments have now been reduced to rubble. The Russian assault on Ukraine paints a picture of massive devastation and destruction. The city of Mariupol has suffered significant damage to the urban infrastructure. The before and after images show the destruction that have been caused by the Russian troops. The residential buildings, commercial establishments destroyed beyond recognition in back-to-back attacks. In Mariupol, this drama theatre, serving as a shelter for hundreds of civilians, was bombed by Russian troops. The theatre, once home to nights of revelry and art, is now a ghost shelf of itself, with rescuers racing against time to extricate those lying under debris. Another city that has been hit the hardest is Chernihiv. After deadly attacks hit the city for weeks, the streets are filled with bodies. Horrifying images of locals carrying the injured and dead have surfaced that show the fatal aftermath of the attacks. A town in Donetsk region, Makivka, is in ruins. Residential buildings and markets are charred due to repeated shellings and missile attacks by the Russian army. Locals were seen coming together to repair the damage caused by the brutal Russian attacks. Once one of Europe's most beautiful countries, Ukraine lies in ruins. Its body battered, its spirit hurt, and soul aspiring for an end to the naked dance of aggression. Bureau Report, India Today.
Is a peace deal breaks through between Ukraine and Russia on the cards? Sergei Mirankov tells us more.
Thank you, Maria. After 3 weeks of waging war, Ukraine and Russia are finally on the negotiation table. After 4 rounds of inconclusive talks, the two nations have come down to a 15-point peaceful plan. Will the delegators from the both sides nations broker a truce?
After 21 days of raging war, there is some hope for truce. Russia and Ukraine are finally in a mood to negotiate. After 4 inconclusive rounds of talks, the 5th one seemed to be a step in the direction of peace. Russia and Ukraine are now trying to chalk out a compromise formula, including neutrality status for Ukraine as one of the options. Under neutral status, Ukraine would become part of European Union but not NATO, like Austria and Sweden. Kremlin has given the green signal to this option. Kyiv, however, has ruled out the Russian proposal. Ukraine wants a legally binding security pact signed by international partners. Ukrainian and Russian delegations have come up with the 15-point tentative peace plan. It lists the issue that needs to be resolved before a compromise. These include Ukraine declaring neutrality, limiting the Ukrainian armed forces, renouncing Kyiv's ambitions to join NATO, and prohibiting Ukraine from hosting foreign military bases in exchange of security. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has claimed the talks are heading in the right direction.
Це важливо. Складно, але важливо, тому що будь-яка війна завершується угодою. Зустрічі тривають. Як мені доповідають, позиції на переговорах звучать вже реалістичніше. Проте ще необхідний час, щоб рішення були в інтересах саме України.
While talks are going on, Russia's relentless bombing of Ukraine continues. The question everyone is asking now is, how soon can the two warring nations reach an agreement? Bureau Report, India Today.
If this dialogue continues between Russia and Ukraine, what are the possible results of these talks? Rajesh, tell us.
Russia-Ukraine war has now been raging for 3 weeks. Russian forces continue to rain missiles on Ukraine. Outmanned and outgunned, Ukrainians are still holding their fort. While the diplomatic talks are on, the world is asking when and how this war will end. India Today decodes the 10 possible scenarios in which the war may end. Here is a report.
Three weeks and peace is still a distant dream in Ukraine. Cities continue to be bombarded relentlessly by Russian missiles. As the humanitarian crisis deepens, India Today decodes the 10 possible scenarios in which the war could end. Scenario 1. Putin bombs Ukraine into submission at a massive human cost and installs a puppet government in Kyiv. Scenario 2. Zelensky is forced to quit and a new government takes over in Ukraine. Scenario 3. Kyiv is made neutral, irrespective of who rules it, or Ukraine is demilitarized like Austria. Scenario 4. Putin is forced to halt what he calls military operations with altered status quo, allowing talks and diplomacy to take effect. Scenario 5. Ukraine is forced to recognize the two breakaway regions of Donetsk and Luhansk, as well as Kherson, as independent regions captured by Russian forces. Scenario 6. Putin escalates war by using chemical weapons or targeting West's arms depots in neighboring Poland, prompting NATO to get involved in the war directly. Scenario 7. Putin scales back his goals in the face of a crumbling domestic economy, and Ukraine becomes what Afghanistan was to Soviet leader Leonid Brezhnev, or the US and its allies after 2001. Scenario 8. Ukraine registers an unlikely heroic victory with continued little weapon support and humanitarian aid supplies from the West. Scenario 9. Sanctions by the West cripple Russia's economy, making Putin extremely unpopular, leading to an uprising in his country or even a coup taking place. Scenario 10. Cornered by NATO and the European Union and depleted of weaponry, a frustrated Putin goes for nuclear strikes, potentially leading to World War III and widespread catastrophe. Bureau Report, India Today.
To counter Russian death drones, which are creating havoc in Ukrainian lines, the United States is now supplying Ukraine with switchblade drones, which work on suicide mode. The small drones carry warheads which detonate on impact. Russia, on its part, has been using stealth suicide drones to attack the Ukrainian army.
Ukraine standing up to Moscow's offensive despite weeks of ravaging assault, showing unparalleled courage and spirit rarely seen in recent times. Showing it can be a match to Moscow's superior military might and far sophisticated weaponry, but Russia on its part has been using stealthy suicide drones to attack the Ukrainian army. These unmanned drones, evading radar and traditional air defense system, can slip past enemy line of fire. This devil in the sky is lethal, using loitering munitions which wait passively in the air, hovering over the target before coming down in one deathly swoop. The drone falls head first along a vertical trajectory similar to kamikazes, a Japanese aircraft loaded with explosives and making a deliberate suicidal crash on an enemy target. Russia is using these drones to make precision attacks on military targets in Ukraine. Each of them packs a small explosive charge up to 3 kgs. Targets are fed into the drone or through an image uploaded on its control system. The drone then finds its target and drops itself to blow the target into smithereens. These loitering munition drones are multi-purpose and used as part of a swarm of drones, flying silently as fast as 130 km per hour with a flight duration of 30 minutes. To counter Russian depth drones, the US is now supplying Ukraine with switchblade drones, which works in similar kamikaze fashion. The small drones made by AeroVironment Ammunition Major carrying warhead detonate on impact. Bureau Report, India Today.
That's all we have for you on this edition of the special broadcast. For more news and latest updates, keep watching India Today.